Thank you for choosing In My Shoes. I'm Hilda Broady, your host. And I know you were very excited about last week's episode, and we're just going to jump right into and finish part two. This is In My Shoes 2. My co host is Joe Smith, aka Bones-Kiel. And we're going to get right back into the conversation because it was getting a little hot there, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Hilda. And we have in our studio again, we have Keisha Forrester, Eve Silver, Sanchez-Silver, and Reverend Childress. And we left off last week talking about Russia and President Putin's push for family values. And we left off where Keisha was about to introduce or talk to us about the straight black pride movement.
Well, yeah, but with Putin, I question that because the numbers for Europeans are dwindling. And it is important for them to maintain a family structure. It is important for them not to abort their babies because pretty soon they'll be dying off. It is important that we maintain our family structure, and that is where straight black pride comes in. It is just that, going back to traditional African-centered values, the family structure of a man, woman, and child. And when we opened last week's show, we talked or opened with genocide. And this homosexual assault on the black family is genocide. This is something that we have to look at, and I'm not attacking homosexual people in no way, but what I'm saying is that, and even they can attest to, there is an agenda afoot to limit our numbers in production, whether it be abortion or homosexuality. Those two mechanisms can end the black family. So that is where straight black pride comes in at. Also with my other organization, SWAP, which is Sisterhood with a Purpose, because I believe that for us to turn this around, the black woman is key. She is the first teacher of our children, the first teacher of a nation. And so once the black women get it together, the jig is up for everybody. And that includes those who are doing us bad. As Reverend Childress said, you have those in clergy who are working against us. And I'm happy to say that he's not one of them working against us. And we have to look at all facets of this assault, and homosexuality and the destruction of a black woman is key. You know, a wise man always told me that the black man is the victim often of police brutality, but the target is black women. And when we as a people did not go out in full force for Lavinia Johnson or Tawana Brawley or Sandra Bland, as we should have, that sends a message to the world. If you are not willing to protect your woman at all costs, how can you be respected on any level? And so I say that family structure, that black female, that black male, and that black child, we have to keep that intact. So,
well, you're opening up quite a big door here. Quite a big door. And you don't, and this is not an 8-hour program. So, but I agree with you wholeheartedly, more so. You know, I was a chaplain in Newark Detention Center under Joe Clark. And I'd like to say to the audience, if you saw Lean on Me, he was passive and lean on me, all right? That was not the real Joe Clark. You have to work for Joe Clark to know that he's strictly business, strictly concerned about the African-American male and female. And it's so true, the African-American woman has played and does play the key role here. I know African-American men are missing. And I know, you know, in 1960, 82% of our homes had one man, one woman. Now it's sadly, nationally, 70% are headed by single households. And in the inner city, it's as high as 85. So We're struggling. But I say to the young ladies who are listening to me, I kind of blame you also. Why? Because you buy 50 Jay-Z and all of their records that are basically demoralizing women. If the young ladies, because they're the most productive, they're the ones getting the jobs, they're certainly the ones going to college. If they said, you know something, we're not buying your stuff anymore. If I hear one more degrading word in your rap about a woman, we are not going to buy your stuff any longer. Two things would happen. First thing that happened, they changed the lyrics. Second thing that happened, they pulled their pants up also. And they would begin to walk in respect of women and respecting her. You know, the brother, basically, if you really know the psyche, when we dressed to impress not men, but the girls. If she said that ain't nothing happening there, it would change.
That's why we did the video with the young people telling them, pull your pants up.
Yes,
Pull your
yes,
pants up.
it would change. Women hold the key in that more than they know. They are the chief socialization agent. They're the first person, the first mentor of our children. They give them the first worldview. That is pivotal. There was so much said. But as far as that genocide, and then you can incrementally take it, I just wanted, because these are things that I tell my young people at the church, especially our young ladies, our young men who are looking for that affection also. What type of affection? A male a leader that cares about them. Unfortunately, they're finding it in the on the street with the OG. With the person who's on the street, that's his father. That's the one that affirms it. And he also tells him, I got your back. And he's giving him exactly what he's not getting because that male may not be there. So if we're going to recover, we got to understand the church has to be far more service orientated and not convenience orientated. We first of all, Christianity was never meant to be convenient, number one. Number two, where we're at right now, if we don't get out of our comfort zone and begin to invade our own community, our own children's lives, and begin to recognize that, yes, I do have to parent from a distance somebody else's child. I do have to be an example to them of what is right and what is wrong. I cannot be afraid of them because they have their pants down and they're talking all this rough gang talk, because I found out when they get in there and they're locked up, first of all, the only person who really comes to see them is mama. That's number one. And number two, they just kids. They still want to have fun. They want to be affirmed, and they want someone to care. So we can do this and stop letting media paint them as totally incorrigible, and there's no sense of trying. We can do this, and it's certainly the church's first responsibility. When they come from the womb, especially in the inner city, they're left with to face another genocide, and that is genocide of the mind. And our public school systems are in shambles because of greed. I can certainly speak for New Jersey, but they tell me it's the same in New York. 1/3 of New Jersey's budget is education. One third. But how can you have $1 billion missing from the school construction fund? How can you have 6 and 7 and 10 no-show jobs? So what you're basically telling me that this is more of a cash cow for somebody other than education. How can the teachers union spend millions of dollars trying to get people elected? And you're telling me there's no after-school program money, and there's no money for special tutoring when we need it most because of the burden on the single mother, who not only has to keep the electric lights on and keep the household up, she can't go to PTA meeting with that type of schedule. She cannot come up every time there's a problem at the school. So who should be there? The church should be there. I used to go for the ladies in my house, in my church, and I used to let them know I was going to be watching them, that I was going to watch his curriculum, And I was going to make sure that if you say he's a problem, that he's just that, or she's a problem, whatever. But we took responsibility to be there at those meetings. I remember one in Barringer, Newark. He was afraid to come downstairs because he figured if I was a parent coming, that there was going to be an altercation. I must be crazy. I must go and do something. And so we had a very nice talk. He says, you know, I've been here for 17 years. You're the first parent to come to see me. I was stunned. I was literally stunned. And so that's not his fault, the teacher's fault. We got to get somebody up there. That's plain and simple. We have to look at failing. How can you send your child, get excited about sending your child to a failing school? This is beyond me. They want to go to school, especially when they're young. You get them up, you get them all reared up to hear the teacher, but you know all data proves if they go to that school, it's a failing school. They're not going to get what they need. I don't understand. Now here's the problem, and I need some of our activists in New York and New Jersey, wherever this is, to come and explain to me. You cannot blame white Republicans when you're running the city. When that money comes into your hands, you determine where that money goes. You're crying you need more money. How do you need more money? You stole $1 billion in New Jersey. You don't need more money. This is not. How come St. Mary's can do it for 7,000? St. Benedict's can do it for 11. The masjid, the Sabbath schools that are producing fine high school students going on to secondary school for a third of what you're asking the taxpayer to pay. This is just as obviously corrupt as the abortion industry, the targeting of African Americans. This could not last in the real world. Anytime you produce a failing product, somebody else comes and takes your place and produces a better product. But why should they improve if they know you have to send your child there? It's by zip code. You live here, you send your child here. That school's failing. Sorry. That's America. That we can do better than that, and we need to make education competitive. This is not a Republican thing. This is not a Democrat thing. This is a child thing. I want my child to have an education, and I had this discussion last night with Keisha. It's funny. She has a program. First time I was on the program, and I was discussing in New Jersey. And I'm getting ready to get in trouble. In New Jersey. They say, well, we have segregation laws, and so because of the segregation laws, they bust us up to the all-white school, and they had to bust the white kids down to Hillside. I understand that. But it also said we could not get a fair shot unless we were sitting with you. That's what you really told me. Okay, but I'll take it, but also, it wasn't really, as far as my parents felt, I didn't really care who my child sits next to. I want my child to be educated. And I don't want my child to be in a classroom where they're tolerated or where they feel that you're doing them a favor by educating them, you see. And when that is pervasive, you're affecting the psyche of their child because they may never say anything, but they pick up certain vibes, certain conditions. But if my child goes into a school where they're celebrated, and all children should be celebrated, where they feel that this person is really genuinely wants my upward mobility, and they're not tolerating me sitting there, or they don't have any already prescribed ideas of whether I'm going to be successful or not. They're willing to tap into the potential that every child has. Down syndrome child has great potential. We look at children. Our children are being now classified. I know they classified me when I was younger. Once they classify them, they're on a certain track. They'll never, ever get to a place where they would be able to really look for a secondary school system or education, really get the education that's due them. We African Americans, we're allowing that without shouting about it, without going into really strong protest about. And because a child acts up doesn't mean they should be classified. And also, but when you look at it, if they're getting $30,000, $32,000 per child, They say it's 22. An actual audit in New Jersey, in one in Newark, it was 32. But to make a long story short, if they're getting 32, if I classify you, I now get 85. What do you think I'm going to do? If I'm greedy.
Classify.
So that's why they gave that kid that 8.
Yeah.
No, I was talking about a kid that he's autistic, and the school said he was an 8, and they wanted to put him on Risperdal. And he was saying, he was objecting, and he's 7. He was saying, no, I ain't taking that.
Thank God for
and
him.
you couldn't tell me what the 8 was, though. They couldn't, the school said he was an 8. To this day, I don't know what that 8 stands for. I know that he won't take the medication, and his mother's in danger of being sanctioned by child welfare. But he said, I ain't taking it, and don't put it in my milk, and don't put it in my food. I ain't taking it.
Right, because not only that is addictive, it sends a message to the child that they can't cope with society without a drug. Also, the pharmaceutical companies are making buku money off of things that we don't. Take the sugar out of the cereal. Get them back to eating with a very, very, very low sugar intake, and see where we go from there. Sit down and tell stories. People understand when we were a storyteller, and our people basically were the experts at storytelling. Okay, that gave a child a sense of focus and engagement, and they were able to discipline themselves better in the classroom. My sister used to read us bedtime stories. How many parents are reading bedtime stories? But then again, I have to ask myself, does their schedule permit?
Right.
Okay, with all that's on them when they get home. I mean, and so we have to somehow
It's over.
grasp and understand what those fights are. So when we get to the teenage age, that we have a new set of principles, as she said. It is a war. Now, y'all been talking about the reptile. Jesus said, be wise as a serpent,
Right.
but harmless as a dove.
Right.
We have to be cunning enough to know that we are going to have to strike at the core of the system in order for the system, once again, some systems I don't think can be fixed. That's my opinion. But you have to at least come up against it for possible change. And if not possible change, it's totally eliminated. We're not fighting for our kids. And it starts with, you said it was on multi-level. It's true. We have to attack the music industry. They're profiting off our kids, but they're adding to the madness. We have to go after the educators. And certainly we want to have to, again, get back to, you can say what you want. We were doing much better in segregation.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, that's not me
Separate but
with a chip on my shoulder. That's me studying and looking at our value systems, and they drastically changed after that. And our leadership just totally went hog wild. You said Malcolm. They began to be very much house Negroes, where I benefit and you follow. I get all the perks. You just listen to what I say, and I'll keep y'all in line. And I won't call names on this program. I'm going to be nice. But the fact of the matter is, much of our black leadership right now, I would have to say, falls into that category because they won't share this information. They will not dictate. And you'd be surprised. The only thing I differ on, they don't. The people that know this don't share it. Congressional Black Caucus, every one of them received a documentary of My Alpha 21, the systemic racism in America through the abortion, get in and let them know what was going on. Every one of them got it handheld by a friend of mine named D. Nelson. This is the God's truth. Now I'm really going to get in trouble. It's God's truth. We put a mole in one of their meetings. I won't say what meeting it was. Do you know what their answer to that was? To the pro-activists who are talking about the abortion issue, they said, in order to circumvent what they're saying, and they said what they're saying is the truth. When I first heard this, I wept. Because what came next was, but this is how we circumvent this. We have to make it completely about a woman's right. We have to completely talk about choice and their ability to choose. And this would be the talking points to refute, and my name was mentioned personally. Wow. People like me, Dr. Alveda King, people like Dr. Alveda King.
And you're not saying anything but make an informed choice. Know what the consequences are.
If you, personally, spiritually, godly, Roe versus Wade, the whole trial was a scam, but let's say you just leave it intact. Okay, fine, it's there. You're not supposed to jump off the Empire State Building, right? Well, we don't have any problems keeping people from doing that every now and then. Why? Because they know they know the ramifications. They don't know the ramifications of using abortion as a contraceptive. They don't know the health risks. They don't know what is happening to women, okay? And you see, anytime after 9/11, when you watch people jumping off a building, you knew basically you weren't going to see them again. But as Sister Eve said, when she comes in for that third or fourth, well, they really got two. Because they know eventually this woman's, and they know. That is the hideous truth about this. They know this. The physician knows this. But it's money. The love of money is the root of all evil. I've gotten all over the place again, but these are the, if I were to, the schoolroom to prison pipeline, you need people just to spend their life on that. I'll take care of the abortion thing. You hit that. Because you got to absorb all the dynamics of that. And then, first of all, you have to go to bed at night and realize that this is, once again, systemic. Anytime you have a private system in the prisons that requires bodies to be there, and then you have legislators making laws to make sure they stay there longer, but you have a congressional black caucus that's not saying nothing.
I
Give me a break.
I have to interject. The racial genocide, we are in a war. I think we all know that. And I keep saying there's a difference between being in war and at war. There are some at war, but for the most part, most of us are just in the war. Many of us are casualties of the war.
Yeah, good point.
Now, there are a lot of people that are in the know. People that have influence, people that have power, people that have beautiful black skin like mine. Now, what determines what we say and how we say it depends on our level of comfortability. Some of us are comfortable. Malcolm X said he gave the illustration of the house Negro and the field Negro.
Field Negro, yes.
The field Negro saying, we got to do something about this. I'm tired of getting lashes on my back. And the house Negro saying, but Mass ain't so bad. It's comfortable in the house. We can hold on a little while longer. So I think, to be blunt, there's many house Negroes among us. The people in these caucuses who know, but because I live a certain lifestyle, I have a certain income, I can suffer, I can watch the others suffer, as long as me and mine are okay.
That's exactly what is going on.
So I think we need to get cleared up first. There are people, you mentioned, I think that was Newark, New Jersey, and the school system. It's ironic that a system that does not work, however, is the law of the land that you must send your child to it.
Yes.
Or you can be in jail.
Yes.
Even though they know it's not working. And you also mentioned, Reverend Childress, that you mentioned that the governance for the most part was minority or black. So we have to identify in this war, as in any war, who is the enemy? Things are not always so white and black anymore.
Oh, no.
The mentality of the oppressive mentality has far surpassed skin color. So you can have people just as black as me and evil as I want to be.
Yes.
Saying I'm down with the cause, but realizing that I'm rising on your back.
It's really become class.
It's more exactly.
It's really become class.
So we have to identify if we are under attack, if this is racial genocide, and we want to fight, who do we fight? And we'll get to how do we fight in a little later on, but who is the enemy?
You have to pick your, like the snake, he picks his targets very well. He picks the most vulnerable and the ones he feels he can take out. I can't take out the targets I would love to take out, but there are things on my level that I can address that hopefully it has a domino effect, that I'll get stronger and other people would come alongside me. And this is the day of Facebook. It's fascinating to me. See, at my age, looking at Facebook, I'm saying to myself, this is just totally unfair. We needed this about 30 years ago. But you can communicate with people a lot faster now. You can start movements a lot easier now. We have to take the weapons that we do have and utilize them fully. And that's one of my greatest sins, I think, that I'm still not utilizing what God has given me. You know, if it's 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish, stop complaining about what you have. Make sure you're utilizing what you've already been given. Let God do the next thing. But unless we feel we're on TV, unless we feel we have an editorial page, unless we feel that we have the eye of mainstream media, many people feel intimidated. You're in a new day now. You have all these internet news groups. You have the ability to go to a PTA meeting. You have we have to take the access that we have and stop saying we can't do anything because we're not on 2020 or we're not on The View or we're not on any of these other shows. Let's take that door that we do have and begin to see where we go from there. And that's how they are very intimidating. I think if I did not have faith, I would not take it on. But it is seemingly overwhelming. But because everyone is looking for, they have their own agenda. And greed, far more than racism. And we still have racism in America. But greed is the overriding factor.
I think
I'm sorry.
the racism piece, and we have to keep in mind that even doing chattel slavery, and a lot of times in dealing with other groups of people, Europeans are quick to point it out to me this, Bones, black folks own slaves too. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, that's true. A minority, but yes, it's true. Yeah. And this is where capitalism trumps a dedication to a race.
Yes.
And so nowadays, this racial genocide, there are people that are in places that could be effective, could be helpful, but they're profiting.
Yes.
And so history repeats itself. And whether it's in the music industry, whether it's in the factions of government, there are people that could help bring this to a speedy close, but they're too busy trumping up their own pockets. And when the time is right, then of course they'll come up and try to, like a savior, and say, well, let me help you. But it's about greed and lack of compassion for other people.
Right. I just want to actually tie things together in my own way, and that is to mention that the most overlooked, valuable in society's lives are literally the bodies of women. Some societies are waking up to the fact, for instance, Putin doing what he's doing in Russia, and China doing what China is doing currently. They used to have a one-child policy. Now they're changing that. Part of it is because they have an entire generation with no women, and they're called bare branches in China because they will never reproduce. In the United States, we still have some freedoms, and one of those, I think, is teaching young men and young boys the value of having a family, as you were saying, and really respecting women, and for women to respect themselves. And while we are getting ready to have a war, do whatever, societally, we should be educating our children about the importance of their bodies and what they will contribute with their bodies. There is an Arab saying, "We will conquer you with our wombs." Oh. And that's what I think it's ISIS that said that. We will conquer you with our wombs. There is a great, clear understanding. If you look at who is crossing borders, a lot of it's just young men with no females. Now, I got news for you. They're going to find their females somewhere. Okay. And one of the things we need to do is protect our families, protect our children, and teach them about themselves. And this idea of teaching them what abortion can do, what protecting themselves can do, comes through the narrative. I'm I'm a narrative I'm a senior member of a narrative organization, Indigenous writers, and it's called Wordcraft. And the idea of teaching through narrative is just it's our backgrounds, your background and my background is about the narrative. And sharing that narrative doesn't mean you have to have, the lectern and the paper and all this kind of stuff. You want to be able to just speak truth to other people and they will carry it home. And I really believe that's a great tool, and I really admire what you're doing by bringing these kinds of things forward right into somebody's house. I think that's where it needs to be. I think that narrative begins with us sitting here speaking together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I really think it's wonderful, Hildy.
And interject real quickly, that's by attrition, the Muslims said they would take over Europe.
Yeah.
Simply because the average Muslim woman has, I think it's 12 children. So, and they've embraced the culture of Europe, not the Muslim culture, but the European culture has embraced children as being a liability more than a commodity. And now that is, same things also happening. So I'm not saying Putin's had a revelation of morality, but he's just of reality that it was those Judeo-Christian ethics, those values. He realizes that Soviet Union at one time, believe it or not, had very strongly. They have to certainly implement now.
Yeah. There is that one incredible truth, and that is that we are here for life, to live our actual lives. And so are all the children that are conceived. And by eliminating them, we have no clue what we have eliminated, what truths we have eliminated, what cures we have eliminated. I think we're a very young nation, and we don't understand generational warfare. There are people who have been on this earth long time, and they realize, have children, have more children, let them have children, and we will take over quietly. There is that kind of perspective that we're missing, and I think we need to draw on all of that, because we all have different backgrounds. I don't agree with everyone. You don't agree with me in every way. Do you know what I'm saying? It's just, it is in your life as an American, take hold of yourself and your family and children and build on that.
I'm glad you said that, just to sneak this in, because I met some Muslims from the Bronx down at the 10-10-15, and we had our All Black Life Matters project out there. And lo and behold, I did a press release in Black News, and I'm not going to say it was because of my press release, but I mentioned how the nation used to talk about population control being put upon the masses, and they were Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Stokely Carmichael, H. Rap Brown, all of the voices of that era were very, 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 very enlightening on this issue. So I put in my press releases, Malcolm X also, I put in my press release what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad had said about the idea of population control and why these clinics were being placed in the inner city. Did you know that for the first time, and I listen to him every now and then, but Louis Farrakhan, we don't agree theologically, but do you know he gave his testimony on how his mother attempted to abort him 3 times? He's 82 years of age. Attempted to abort him 3 times. She said the 3rd time, she figured there was something. There was something to this.
No.
And I love, and he made mention just what you said. He said, "Have you killed the cure for AIDS?" He says, because the answer to, and I said, it's in my head now, I can't get it out, because it was very profound, and it was, the timing on it was great, and I'm sitting out there with my project. So he said, because the answer to America's woes comes through the womb.
I'm glad since this is unscripted programming. Since you're going there, I think it was in the Bible, maybe the New Testament. Well, it had to be the New Testament, but right before the birth of Jesus, the Christ, and I think it was Herod that sent out a decree to kill all of the first. Yeah. So when I'm thinking about this Planned Parenthood, this racial genocide, I think it is an attempt to kill greatness.
Yes.
Now, I'm not saying the Messiah. I'm not getting into all of that.
Right.
But wasn't Moses supposed to be killed off too?
Yeah.
In Old Testament as well. So it's always attacking the womb and the.
There's going to be great people
coming through
that
the
come through that. I tell anybody.
Well, it's the only way to come in.
I tell
Exactly.
But see the timing.
I know that much.
The timing. I believe the most profound leaders will be born after 1973. This is what Satan, evil, was trying to stop. Never knows who, but massively attacked
Why
the womb.
why 1973?
Because that's Roe versus Wade. That's when it
Right,
became legal.
That is an important year for a number of reasons, which is beyond the scope of this program. But 1970, very important year. A lot happened. That was almost one of those, what I call like a turning point in time, the beginning of the end. Now, the end could be millions of years. I don't know. But
Are you referencing how the homosexual community infiltrated the medical journals and then turned away homosexuality from being a psychiatric problem? That happened in 1973.
No, it's an important. Yeah, I'm going into like governments now. But,
Well, you're right, because that's the same year.
That was a very
I just
important
mentioned
year.
two of them in our discussion. NSSM, 1973. Cable deal struck, 1970. I'm saying, boy, that was not a good year. Now you're talking about this probably more.
There was a lot going on with OPEC. It was just a big year. I don't know how people. I don't think people. I was very young at that time.
Well, I won't say very young.
I was very young, but I don't think.
Younger, let's be fair.
I don't think people realize how important that year was. Now, for some, it was a good thing, and for others, it was like almost the beginning of the end. It depends on which side of the spectrum you're on, whether, you think what we talk about now is hogwash. We should shut up, or you saying right on, keep on talking, people. But 73 was a very important year.
Seeds were birthed, and look what we have today. Who would ever thought? I've never thought we would be able to say 55 million babies, over 20 million African Americans. I mean, I think, yes, 20 million. I think our population is 37 something now. So you should add. One preacher said, whenever you go into a room, always add 1/3 more of us. He said, so if you're sitting in a room with 3 people, there should be another person there. You sit in a room with 9, there should be another 3 there. That's the impact. And that's what they're happy about. I've never. We've gotten to the point where they've really crossed the line. You have to understand, absolute power corrupts. You always need checks and balances. Okay? But I'm saying to myself, how can you coerce a whole party to circle the wagons around this madness of Planned Parenthood? I said, you just left me. Now, even if I wanted to be a Democrat, I can still be a Democrat, and we have differences on certain issues. I could be a Republican and have differences on certain issues. You say Republican, African American, the hair grows up on their head. But there comes a point where I said, no, I don't want to have nothing to do with that. How are you defending? I saw congresswomen, I won't mention the name, I saw a congresswoman stand up and rail against the committee that had called from New Jersey, by the way, that called Planned Parenthood out on this issue of selling body parts and the heinous, callous Joseph Mengele is Walt Disney compared to these people. That I said, and she said, I don't know why they even called you to this. I said, boy, she getting a fat check. I mean, and the dollars must be rolling there. But I said, but that's more, and I will say this because some people may figure out, both her and her husband are ministers in a church.
Wow.
Danger.
That's why.
And I said, now, if I ever got invited to Shiloh or whatever, I don't think I could be silent about. Oh, I just let it out that bad.
You sure did. I heard it.
I just don't think I could be silent about that. What are you telling our people about our own dignity? What are you telling me about this woman who's following the ideology of the most productive racists of our time? People say Adolf Hitler. Oh no, Margaret Sanger.
Oh, yeah.
No question about that. I'm saying, and will not stop giving the Margaret Sanger Award. Will not say anything, detrimental against her legacy. You just don't understand. Oh no, I'm reading. I understand very well.
Oh, yes.
And our people, our leadership defends this. Now it's really gotten to the point, maybe it's because I'm older, it is extremely frustrating. And for her to literally give this tirade at the committee in defense of Planned Parenthood after these revelations, I said, well, Lord, do I just put up the white flag? Is there any hope for us? I mean, what can you say? Because she felt comfortable and was in church that Sunday.
I think there is hope for us, and I think people like yourself, just your presence sometimes, can help bring about the change that will come. I'm not going to keep on in the Bible, but I think it was in the Old Testament, Sodom and Gomorrah, and this is when God was telling Lot, if you find me one, I'd spare it. So sometimes just your presence in that situation.
That's true.
And as we're talking through this program, we're under multifaceted attack. And you can see that there are people working on different levels, which is good. We shouldn't all be in the same place doing the same thing. Because
Exactly.
we become, you can wipe us out. So we need to be varied.
Yes.
So sometimes your presence, keep on the battlefield where you are, and it will make a difference. But so I've survived the womb. I wasn't aborted. I'm in this education system that I'm forced to go to by law. The curriculum is another, I won't even get in that today, what they're teaching me once I'm there. But now the other aspects of racial genocide. So I'm in this, and I'm gonna choose my word carefully, but this environment where I'm being taught, I won't say taught homosexuality, but I'm being taught to be, this new family model in school. I'm also at an age now in this preteen where this affirmation we spoke about before, I need to be loved. I'm not getting it at home for whatever reason. So the gang culture is looking appealing because they become my family. So I'm exposed to all of these elements that could help foster my quick elimination. Yes. Now let's talk through some of these other issues for the preteen or teens. The agendas in school, whether it be the new, I don't even know what it's called, new model families or.
Joe, I want to say, I do this talk. It's called How to Speak to Your Own Kids About Their Sexuality. And the reason it came up was because I was working with kids who were considering abortion or had just had an abortion, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I realized I'm talking to the wrong group. Because it's kind of like always after the fact. It's like, March of Dimes. We only want to talk to women who've already had a preemie. We've only want to talk to women who've already had, breast cancer, et cetera. Nobody wants to talk to people before that happens. You said prevention earlier. That's, I think, where we need to go. We need to speak to parents and help them understand there is another place where their children must be taught, and that's at home.
Exactly.
And if you can't do it because you must work, then you should be part of a group where that happens. I homeschooled my kid, and that's not for everybody. I understand that, but the unity of people who were also doing the same thing for their children allows. The unity of that allows for people to work together to teach their children, this is what we believe. And they realize that all their friends' parents believe the same thing. And that is a huge help. I grew up in a time, probably close to you, maybe sometimes. But where if the candy store lady saw that you weren't in school, she would tell your mother.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She would just tell your mother, and she'd tell you she's going to tell your mother. I know. You know, she told my mother. She was like, she wasn't in school.
We don't have the neighborhoods anymore.
No.
No.
So I believe we have to create that. And I don't mean in our neighborhood, but
A sense
to
of
meet together,
community.
a sense of community. So that's what I actually had that. I created that with other families that were like-minded. But first you have to get the information out that would allow that to happen. Were you going to say something?
Yeah. What you all are saying is absolutely correct. And me, I'm just going to go with this. And I might get in trouble, but I really don't care. But sitting on this panel, I'm going to say that I'm the youngest person here. And coming up, I was 3 years old in 73, so we going to work with that. Okay, I just told it right there. Okay, so but when I had my child, and I was not as aware as I am now, totally in the dark. It was because the birth of my child that led me into a consciousness that I am now. As a matter of fact, 10 months after her birth, I went to the Million Woman March. And at that march, Sister Soldier had us make a pledge to ourselves and our families and our communities. And prior to going there, my mother always told me that your word is your bond. And if we were to give our word that day, I was going to stick to it. And so I did that. So when I came back home, I began to read to my 10-month-old child at that time African history, world history, her greatness as a black female. And as you were talking about earlier, we are a new nation, or this is a new nation for Europeans.
Right.
For Africans, it's an old nation. But for Europeans, they brought with them the mind of the Roman Empire. And the Roman Empire was totally against female.
Right.
Period. So, and you bring up with Lot and his and all of that, they were totally anti-female. So this is nothing new. And the reason why they are anti-female and anti-family, because that is the remedy to all that is going on. And us being under such bombardment, how do we get out of this situation? As you said, we both, as Sister Soldier said that day, we should stand firm on our square. And when you stand firm on your square, you fight there. So if he is in the clergy, then he is fighting strong, because clergy plays a big role in community as well as politics. And our people lack a political education, which is needed. And I don't think we've had anyone as courageous as Adam Clayton Powell since. Everybody else has been taking money and playing games and playing with themselves while we're suffering out here. Those of you who are in education, you stand firm on your square and you fight there. Those of us who are in the street, we have to stand firm on our square and fight there. We were speaking earlier about Kai Gurley. See, me being strategic mind, I would not go to the pink houses to rally anything. I would go into the neighborhood of the police officers who killed Kai Gurley to disrupt that area. We don't need help there. We good. Let's go to the communities of those who are causing the assaults. Now, you mentioned Black Lives Matter, but I say Black Lives Matter to whom? Because I don't want you rebel-rousing where I live at, where the atrocities are taking place at. I need you right now to go to Barack Obama's neighborhood and stand right there and do your business there. When it comes to education, because of the psychological and neurological abuse of the black woman, it is hard for her to educate her own child. And so she is trusting. That is where community comes in.
Right.
When you enter my home, you immediately know where you at. This is an African-centered home. There is a library of books that will teach you about who you are, who your enemy is, and how to fight them, and how to win. When, as a matter of fact, before you get into my door, you see exactly where I stand. I do not believe in turning the other cheek. I do not believe in disarming ourselves, as we have been told by those in the communities who put themselves as leaders, because we didn't have an election
There you
to
go.
say who our leaders should be. They were already chosen for us. So I'm saying that we have to fight firm on our square where we are. And I'm not one who says disarm yourselves. There is a discal on my door of the NRA, and say what you want about it, but I truly believe in the Second Amendment. There is no police officer who's going to chase my child in my home and only one body bag is brought for that my child. You could have been two. So I'm just saying we have to be strategic, and you can form as many groups as we want. And we got a lot of them. We got a lot of organizations. The problem is, because of the abuse, psychologically, everybody wants to be a leader because we haven't been heard for so long. Nobody wants to listen. Nobody wants to work together.
Wind it up, though,
Yeah,
because we'll run out of time again. This is how it goes.
All Black Lives Matters is a pro-life group, though.
Okay.
I don't. George Soros created Black Lives Matters, and he's not worried about Black life at all.
Right.
But that's another story. But I just took that because I knew people would notice what I'm saying,
Right.
and I pointed back to what's going on in the womb and the genocide in the womb. So I say not Black lives. I say all Black Lives Matters. Okay.
Okay, so I want to thank you all for coming. And we could go on for 8, 9, 10 months.
I told you.
And never, ever get it all out.
Right.
Okay, but I'm going to wait for feedback, because we will get feedback. Yes, I do get the emails. And I'll let you know, because they're going to want us to come back again, because we've only come up with 2 solutions.
Right.
You all have, because I've done very little talking today. and they're going to, our community needs more than 2.
Absolutely.
Okay, as many as we can get, yes?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel a little shortchanged because we just got from the womb. We just in high school. And what about the people? I wanted to get to the Akai Gurley and police brutality, mass incarceration. We are really under attack, and I don't know how. We're not even halfway through this.
Okay, so
But,
we have to make another appointment to come back and do it again.
This
right?
went by fast. This was quick.
It always does.
I have a good friend on
Okay.
that mass incarceration. He'd
Let
be
me
far more
turn to the
knowledgeable than
audience
myself.
and say, I want to thank you again for choosing In My Shoes 2, T-O-O, with my co-host, Bones-Kiel.
Kyle.
Thank you again for coming.
Thank you, Hilda.
And everybody
It's
is
always a pleasure.
trekking in from Montclair, New Jersey, formerly from the Bronx, but now
Red Bank, New Jersey.
Red Bank, New Jersey, East New York, my old stomping grounds, Brooklyn. I'm in the Bronx now, though. But thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us. It was really important.
I've been less offended by the boxers or the sagging pants in our community. I got a song for you. Check it out. Here we go. Come on.
Pull your pants up, pull your pants up. Pull your pants up, pull your pants up. Pull your pants up, pull your pants up.
Yeah.
It's the new style.
Come on, Clenard, talk to me.
Say, Mr. Harris, sagging jeans is an epidemic.
That's right.
One that I've never been a fan of. And I can't stand how these young men, they sagging, they dragging. Come on, pull your pants up. And I know us girls, we in the wrong for not putting these fellas on.
You got the power.
But I'm offended by boxers. And I think that we all should be.
Come on, help me.
Pull your pants up, pull your pants up. Pull your pants up, pull your pants up. Pull your pants up, pull your pants up.
Why?
It's the new style. Pull your pants up, pull your pants up.
Yeah.
Pull your pants up, pull your pants up. Pull your pants up, pull your pants up. It'll make your mama proud.
Here we go.
We living in a world affected by an epidemic. Sagging jeans and sweatpants is how men living. Need to set the example to make the future right. So hear our message when we hit you with the chant. Right?
Pull your